So again, men do all of the
feminists.
Well, then okay, I'd love for the feminists, please apply for the oil rigs. Please go do the hard jobs in society. They're open, they're hiring, because I don't equate for I don't think men or women are equal until we do the equal work. So no, listen. Go apply to be on the oil rigs. Go be a plumber, go be an electrician, go be on the front lines of the military, and then we should have equal rights. But until feminists are willing to do that, I don't believe we should have the freedom without the responsibility.
Okay, but I don't think that I'm physically built for that. You might be, but I'm absolutely not. No, but you said you're
Thank you. Good night.
So for the longest while, I have been seeing videos about the manosphere and feminism. Everybody knows what those things are. And so once again, we have people joining the discussion of whether or not these groups are actually useful to society. I think there are good points from both, but I think there are destructive points from both. And I think where it started out to be something beneficial for society, people have just hijacked it and turned it on its head into something extremely radical and hateful.
For you to have a girl at home and then go out and have sex with all these women, like, why are we placing value on that?
Well, relationships and sex and relationships, like the mating process is amoral by nature. It's not meant to be fair. It's not meant to be moral. It's not meant to be any of that stuff. We're here to reproduce. And unfortunately, there are unflattering realities in the reproduction process.
And if we're here to reproduce, then are you reproducing with all of these women that you're having sex with?
No, but you're still,
that's the point,
you're still copulating because that is the act to reproduce.
How does that make you valuable if you don't respect your penis?
You can't. Because here's the difference. Women are consistently and overwhelmingly underestimate how difficult it is to attract the opposite gender as a man.
See, these dudes don't really have no substance, man. She actually called them out on that because their theology is that men and women are completely different when it comes to sex, right? And I think that it's different, but it ain't completely different. And so he believes a high-value man can sleep with as many women as they want to, and they're totally fine because men don't view sex outside of just an act, and they move on. Generally speaking, that's what he says. And women, they get emotional, so if they sleep with a lot of people, they're damaged goods. But men can be totally up to par, sleep with as many women as they want, and everything is cool. And so she kind of called him out on it. He's saying that, no, it's just for reproductive purposes, so like as animals, there's no morality to it, it's just reproduction. And then she called him out and said, well, all the women you sleeping with, are you trying to reproduce with them? See, because if you ain't trying to reproduce with them, then what you creating is your own reality of morality in sexual encounters with women. You're trying to have a good time. You're trying not to reproduce.
Feminism used to be about actual women's rights. And now there's a lot of feminists that just actually hate men and don't want to be equal to them, but be more than them. Same thing with men. Men are like, yeah, feminism is ruining us, or women are treating men badly, but now we're better than women, and now they're warring with themselves. Same way that the whole diversity thing started as something good, where we want people to be more tolerable and opening and understanding and empathetic to people who don't look like them, because we're all human. We're all the human race. We should all love each other and get along. But now it turns into white people bad all the time just because. And I think everything that starts out good, people have to, as my mother used to say, be given an inch but then take a mile, where there is no need to do that. And it's very rare, at least for me, being on the internet. Maybe it's not. There's some people that they have a brain. They can think, they can see the good on both sides, the bad on both sides. This YouTuber also brings up some important points as well. It's horse meat. If you guys haven't watched his channel, you should definitely go. He's so fun and chill and talks about just some interesting stuff. So we'll go into what he says, and it's really great to have this conversation. I think more people need to have a conversation like this. Also because I know that whenever men specifically try to talk about stuff and they don't 100% agree with certain women, they go on these talk show hosts on YouTube or these podcasts, the women just descend on them for having an opinion that's not even bad.
Man cannot come out and say a preference. It don't matter what it is. It could be weight, it could be color, it could be income, it could be hair length, it could be nails, it could be whatever he wants to say. If whoever he's alienating with that preference, it's gonna be think pieces written. He gonna get bashed. Oh my God, I can't believe you would say something like that.
Shut up, it is not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It is a real term that applies to a system of oppression. It is directly linked to evidence that can prove that we live in a westernized society that is based in fat phobia.
Is it fat phobic to not date overweight girls?
No, it's not. I hold myself to a high standard of health and fitness, and I'd want my partner to do the same.
Would you date a fitness chick who's bigger than you?
Absolutely not.
But when your preferences exclude an entire group of marginalized people, that's problematic.
They're just speaking their mind, but then the women just get away with everything and say the most heinous things.
Sorry, I'm not into short guys.
Son, why would you follow me? I'm one... Yo soy una jirafa, loco. Yo soy alta. Like, you think I want to deal with... No! You know, like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm 5'7". I'm 5'7". My little sister is 14, and she's 5'8". Bro, if I come and I want to show, like, if I fall in love with this person so bad and I want to show them, like, to my family, you think they're gonna respect No, we're gonna laugh, bro. We're gonna laugh. My family is treacherous. They got jokes for days, bro.
But then you have the podcast on the flip side with just the men, and the women come on and speak their mind, and all the men will descend on them or kick them out. It's just ridiculous.
What's up, guys? Another day, another dollar. Oh, fuck. Let me do that again. What's up, guys? Another day, another dollar. Today's...
That's $2.
Video topic is why I think Redpill and, like, then the OnlyFans girls and the podcasts, all that shit combined, may be the end of the human race. And look, I'm gonna preface, right? This is personal opinion.
I know that he's saying, like, the end of the human race. I'm so surprised that humans are still here, to be honest, because do you know how many situations we've run into where, like, well, Jesus, this is going to be the end of the human race, and we still keep going. Jesus, this is really going to be the end of the human race. We still keep going. It's like those religious people are like, Jesus is coming back any day now. Oh, no, he's coming back, like, real soon. Thousands of years later. He's coming back real soon. Like, every time you can think that things can't get worse, they usually do. Don't jinx it.
Some of the shit said on both sides, like some of the shit Andrew Tate says, I'm like, hell yeah, that shit is facts. But then other times I'm like, I don't know if that's facts. You know, and then sometimes on those, like, podcasts, which I just don't watch anymore, I'm like, I mean, I think there's, like, true shit in all of it, you know? But, yeah, okay.
Look, I never actually watched Andrew Tate. Whoops. I didn't ever get the appeal to him. I've seen clips of him floating around the internet, and I think he's a scam artist, to be honest. I have watched actual Manosphere guys, you know, before everyone started calling them Redpill. And the ones that I watched, like, I think Better Bachelor was one of the ones I watched. They were actually, I don't know how it is now because I haven't watched that in a long time, but some of the mature guys, they felt like Kevin Samuels, while I don't agree with everything he said, most of their message was teaching men and women. He got big off of the whole woman thing, but he was doing the same thing with men before that. And he was basically teaching them reality. Like, temper your expectations. If you want this, you have to work for this. This is what's wrong with you now. He basically spearheaded everything by telling people what they didn't want to hear. I think that's the problem with a lot of women now today. When I say, like, men have a better understanding of reality, I'm not trying to insult women. We feed more an emotion, and I've been around women. I am a woman. I've seen women actually get mad when people tell them the truth. I'll tell my friends the truth. That's why I don't have any female friends, I think, because first of all, I don't think we have the same likes. But on the other hand, she would ask me a question, like my female friends, like the really feminine ones will be like, hey, what do you think about this? You know, such and such, do I look fat in this? And I said, well, actually, you want to wear something that, like, works for your shape more because your rolls are sticking out. And she gets super offended, and I'm like, you asked me my opinion. And like, you don't say that. I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, if I can't even be friends with you and tell you the truth when you're asking me for my freaking advice, then don't, like, you asked me my advice. And you said in the past you don't like your fat being shown. Now, I can either tell you to take your ass to the gym and just go fucking work out and stop eating so much, or wear something that you will feel comfortable in because you can't see that your rolls are sticking out, which is something that you said you didn't like. So then don't ask me anything then. But it's just annoying. I hate that. People would ask you, what do you choose? What do you think? And you give them your advice. No, I don't agree with that. Okay, then don't ask. Leave me alone. I don't even remember where I was going. But yeah, I find that women, my mom is one of those people, they get super offended when you tell them the truth too bluntly. Some men do too. But from my experience being around my guy friends and men that I know, when I tell them the truth, they're like, damn, that was cold. But they don't get the emotion is detached from it. They don't start crying or turning it around on me. Women do that to me and they do it to other men. I've seen this happen. I've grown up and I've watched it. So there is something to be said with certain people not wanting to listen because they're used to being pampered and treated like princesses all the time. And I think that's part of the reason why the manosphere thing even happened, because now people who call themselves feminists, they get triggered when men say anything to them, when men have preferences, when men like women who are attractive. It's like, no, the male gaze, men are disgusting. I'm like, dude, but you're doing the same thing. Like, you see a hot guy and you're like, ooh, that's, you're female gazing. I mean, what? But anyway, that's where the manosphere thing came from, because a lot of these men, because they were not able to be a part of the conversation, they started their own little sphere. They saw one guy doing it, and they're like, oh my god, he's saying all the stuff that we're thinking. Yes! And then it started out like that so men can have a space. And then these people, after that dude died, these people came out and they're like, you know what? Let's capitalize off of what this guy is doing, but let's become like radical feminist maninists. I don't know what you call it. And just dunk on women and just shit on them. Even when they have a point, you're not even listening. You just want to be right all the time. And then you end up with people like Fresh and Fit, where some of the things they say is good, but then you don't have proper conversations with people because you choose the dumbest rocks to represent women. And then when an actual intellectual woman or a woman who's normal comes into the scene, you treat her so immaturely. She makes you look like children. You don't actually have a high-functioning conversation because you get triggered and emotional, which is the thing you say is a feminine trait. The whole thing is stupid. It is so stupid. Now they're just like warring at each other. I'm like, why? You both want to fuck. Like, why are we doing this? It's annoying because if I were ever to go back out in the dating sphere, I'd be terrified because I'd be wondering if every guy thinks I'm like all the women out there that are like that. Like, even if I wanted to go to a gym now with a like, I don't agree with cameras in gyms, for example. But now I'm wondering, because of all the TikTok people who are calling men creeps and stuff, are they gonna look at me as one of those people? Like, it's very weird. Like, you don't want certain people being the representation of your whole entire gender. So it's good when people actually can talk about stuff like this, because I don't want people to think that all females think the way that the radical people do and just like horse meat. You don't want all females who are decent people to think that all men are like that, because if that's the only narrative that's being spun, people are going to believe it.
So I don't know if you guys ever saw that Elon Musk thing, right? About like the things that, the highest probability of things that would end the world, right? You got nuclear war, obvious one. You got shit like that. But then population collapse. And I'm gonna talk like I'm an intellectual here, but I really don't know what I'm talking about.
One of the comments was like, an intellectual would not quote Elon Musk. Bro, the dude literally knows rocket science. What are you talking about? You can hate him, but let's not be dishonest.
Population collapse is essentially when not enough people have children in a given country, and the average age of that country rises, right? So let's say, hypothetically, if the average age in a country was 70 years old, then obviously there would not be enough young people. The labor force would collapse. There wouldn't be anyone replacing the people retiring. So like in a job, let's say you have 10 people retiring. For every like 5 years that 10 people retire, there's only 2 people to replace them. And obviously that's a problem, because eventually there's no one to work. And then society just collapses.
Not just no one to work, but no one to defend the country either, which is kind of a tactic that's being used by other countries that hate you. Like, if I were a dictator and I hated another country and I knew I couldn't win them by attrition, I would sow seeds into their culture, maybe through social media, maybe through people there to become heads of certain government titles, whatever. And I would have these people there teach the young people all the stuff that, or the ideologies that are bad for society, make the economy just hell, so you make people not want to have children, and then just sit back and watch the country eat itself. That's what I would do as a dictator. And I think that's a tactic that's been used before. And you see that it's already happening to other countries. So yeah, there are issues with that. And the declining birth rate, you don't have enough people to replace the people who are dying off or getting too old. Obviously, that spells disaster for the population, because where there are more old people and there are young people and the old people die off, then now you have half the population, putting yourself at risk for diseases that can wipe out the population. You don't have enough. The workforce, as he mentioned. And not only that, but the old people as well, they're not going to have enough people to help take care of them. They built up everything for the younger people, but now they're old and it puts a strain on the healthcare systems to support them. It's just not feasible. You have the labor shortages, like he mentioned, and then the market can collapse as well as a result of this. Just so many things could happen. It's just, but then, you know, I know this is interesting coming at this from this angle and recognizing this. I can still recognize reality and admit that I'm one of those people who chosen not to have kids. There's a reason why I'm choosing not to have kids. Not just, I mean, yeah, financially maybe, but there's other reasons for that as well. And I feel like, me personally, I mean, I've talked about this in the past, but even though my father keeps harassing me about it, and I feel bad, but I want to also have a child because my father wants to be a grandfather. I feel like it's very irresponsible. I feel like there's not a lot of people that are aware that they shouldn't have children. There are some people that end up having kids that have no business having kids. They just do it because it's the thing to do, and then they end up destroying these kids, and they become horrible for society and are part of the problem, even the one that we're talking about right now with the low fecundity, you know, the birth rates. If you're not having kids for health reasons or because you genuinely think you wouldn't make a good parent, that's a better responsibility to have, but the economy doesn't help either, and it's kind of sad, but at the same time, I'm not going to be out there with making my decision to be like, yo, people, you need to have them children. And you wonder why our grandparents and our parents decided to have kids anyway, because it was a thing to do. And they had more kids too when they really lived on farms. My ancestors were farmers, and so they used to have like 20 kids. Like, I know there's one member of my family that had 30 children. 30! Woman! 30... Like, I can't even process popping out 30 human heads, 30 Homo sapien craniums out of you. And like back then, I don't think they had the cesarean section stuff. So they were, you know, that was just, wow, I can't. And then, like, I thought about the whole kid thing, and I'm like, then I watched a video of someone screaming and it tearing out of her, and I'm like, yeah, like, no, no. And then there's so many things that could happen. I don't know, dude. Me and my husband are too introverted for that, too. I mean, if he really, really wanted it, but I'd be freaking terrified. But then he also has, like, hereditary stuff from his family, like diabetes and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't know. I don't think that would be responsible. Like, I would not want to put my child in a situation where they are already at a disadvantage health-wise, and it's easier. And then now you're spreading that gene throughout. Like, I'm just surprised. Like, I have no diabetes in my family whatsoever. Like, it's just weird to me how many people in this country have freaking diabetes. I didn't even know what that was until I came to the States. I was like, people, what? People chopping off their hands and losing their vision? From food? Like, what's going on? And I don't know if it's some of the food process, like the processed food here. I think that's a huge part of it. You look in some of the food, everything has high fructose corn syrup in it. I remember buying some of this cheap stuff when I was in New York, and we used to buy stuff from the deli, and the juices that they sell there, like Snapple and stuff, and you drink it, and there's this weird aftertaste that tastes like chemicals, and it made me nauseous. I was like, ugh. Like, even though, despite being athletic and whatever, it's like you eat this food and it makes you feel like shit. And people are eating this every day, like soda. I don't drink soda anymore. Like, I never really used to be a soda drinker either, but I just don't know. I feel like a lot of the food is killing people. You have people who are weighing down the healthcare system because they have illnesses at young ages that they should not be having. But yeah, like the whole having babies things, people saying that it's more expensive now than it was back in their parents' day. I mean, parents can probably argue and say, yeah, well, it's not that bad. Things are a little bit more expensive now. Things were simpler than when you had land and you could teach your kids from home, and things were, you know, people weren't gouging other people's eyes out for money. You make things and they last. I know there are things that, there's refrigerators older than me that still work. And now when you buy something, when you buy appliances, phones, cars, they expect you to replace them within 5 years. And so they build them in such a way that makes them obsolete within that time to force you to buy another. And it's like, if you choose to fix that car, you have to weigh the options of it costing more to fix a used car than just buying another one. And then people get stuck in this loop of constantly being in debt and buying stuff that doesn't last. And then you wonder why the economy's starting to crash. It's like, it's greed. That's what it really boils down to. Greed is what's killing us. And then it has a cascading effect that affects everything else. So he has a point there.
Simply because we don't have enough people doing the essential jobs. One of the good examples was looking at a country's adult diapers versus baby diapers thing. That's what Elon Musk brought up. Once again, I'm speaking like I'm an intellectual, but I'm just like giving you my opinion. And when the amount of adult diapers surpasses the amount of baby diapers needed in a country, that's kind of like a bad telltale sign. Meaning there's way too many elderly and not enough babies. I think, see, I'm just spitballing numbers. Japan passed that number in like 1970s. I think US has also been going downhill like that. So overpopulation is not a problem at all. It's quite the opposite from what I've been reading.
I mean, I wouldn't say that overpopulation is not a problem at all. It is. It can be a problem. Nothing ever comes good from any group of organisms when they're overpopulated. Think about it. Every other animal in the kingdom, whenever there's overpopulation, there's a gross imbalance of ecology. There's too much feeding, and if there's too many deer, then they eat too much of certain foods, do too much damage that other animals can't get. So those animals that would share the resources that deer eat, now there's not enough of them to feed another predator that makes another predator come. There's not enough pollination because these little animals that ordinarily would feed on the same resources as the deer, now the deer are eating too much of it, so those little animals can't pollinate. The deer eating all these flowers and stuff. Now the bees don't have any reason to be here. So now they're like, well, I guess I'm not going to pollinate. Now you don't have enough trees. We learned about this stuff with food chains and ecology, cause and effect and all that stuff. Overpopulation and underpopulation, they're both bad. There has to be a balance. You have to let things be. And the problem is, it's a very catch-22 kind of thing because human beings have hijacked natural selection. So you'll notice, like, you'll wonder why there's so many sick people in the first place. It sounds really mean, but I'm not saying we should go, off these people. It's not what I'm saying, but you have to also acknowledge reality. People who are sick are being given a chance to live longer lives. They have all these illnesses. Ordinarily in the wild, people like that would not survive. They just wouldn't. They wouldn't pass on that weak gene because that gene didn't survive. Now you have people like that breeding that gene and carrying it forward. And so you have all these people with underlying health issues that they ordinarily wouldn't have in a wild setting because they wouldn't live very long, breeding constantly. So now we've hijacked natural selection and you're like, well, humans are not as strong as they used to be. Everyone's sick. Everyone has allergies. Everyone wears glasses. People are getting obese. Like that's not a normal thing. And then we've also helped ourselves to not being predated upon. Like humans did have natural predators. Now we don't because of technology and weaponry and all that stuff. But also everyone's having children. Everyone was having children. And then what would happen before we had more advancements in medicine, babies would die. That was a common thing. Women who weren't strong enough to carry certain children, they would die. Unfortunately, they would die in childbirth. I think my grandmother, she lost one of my uncles when he was a baby. I don't know what he got sick with, but that was a common thing from her time. Like a lot of babies that just got really sick, they died. And so whatever was going on in that baby's makeup that was bad for his survival, he never got to pass that on. And so my ancestors, my grandmother, great-grandmother, they're really strong people. My grandfather died at 106. My great-great-grandfather died at 100. My great-grandmother died, I think, when she was like in her 90s. And like stretching back past, based on what my parents were saying, specifically on my mother's side, people lived into their late 90s and 100s. And you wonder why. It's like, and they didn't have a lot of, like, where we came from in our country, we didn't have like, oh, this great medicinal advancement and availability. No, they were farmers. They were considered poor by city people standards, even though they had a lot of land. But they worked by the sweat of their brow. They went out there. They had animals. They were feeding themselves. They were living literally off their land. So it's not like they could go to the hospital all the time. They had a fever. They had to figure it out. So those genes spread down into me. And, we also have this thing where based on what people say, like we look way younger than we are because of our ethnicity and our genetic makeup. So I think there's something to be said also for people, having that natural selection. We've kind of hijacked that now. I don't think it's a necessarily bad thing, but then people who have those issues are having children. Now you're putting out people with these underlying genetic conditions, breeding more people, and then it's an ethical conundrum, because no one's going to say to everyone, well, you shouldn't have have kids, people are still gonna have kids. They should still have that choice to have them. I don't think it's right to go and tell people you shouldn't and then put a mandate on that, preventing them from having them. Then we go into this weird dystopian issue where the government's now telling people who can have kids and who can't. I don't think that's right either. But we also have to acknowledge that there is something to be said for more people existing than should, because people that ordinarily would naturally die don't. And so there is a little bit of overpopulation as a result of that. Now, in the past, people were saying that we're too overpopulated. Now they're saying, well, the birth rates are declining. Maybe it's cyclical. Do you think it could be a way of nature correcting itself in an artificial way, like through our society and our economy? Because people were saying that we were overpopulating the area before, and now people are having less children. So maybe it's course correcting. Who knows?
Yeah, not enough people are having kids. I mean, the amount of single people rises every fucking 10 years. I feel like the amount of marriage, the amount of kids being had, it's all going down. Anyway, I got a call. I forgot what I was saying, but the reason Redpill and the OnlyFans girl thing and those podcasts that I actually cannot stand, the reason that would be bad, I think, is because this is just personal, like, you know, thoughts. I feel like the genders have never hated each other more than they do, like, right now. I mean, maybe a little bit more when women had, like, no rights. Okay, I could kind of see that. Yeah, that's all right. Well, yeah, that obviously they didn't like each other then. But I think now, dude, it's like you got a bunch of, like, incel red pill dudes who hate women.
I don't think women hated men back then, though. I mean, I wasn't alive back then, so I don't know. But I don't think women ever hated their men. I think they were just like, look, with the war efforts and how much work we put in, we deserve to we were holding things down too. Like, come on. When you were all off to war, we had to hold shit down. And have your babies at the same time and deal with all of that. Work factories while we're taking care of your kids. I think we kind of have a say. And so they fought for that. But I don't think hatred was a part of it. Hatred towards the opposite gender seems to be a very recent thing. On a natural scale, women don't hate men and men don't hate women. That's not normal. That seems to be something that came about with the advent of social media and angry people coming online and saying men ain't shit, and then popular celebrities making music about it while they're at home in their $1 million mansion with their husband who loves them, and they're out here preaching to other people, you guys, single life is great. Y'all, make sure he puts a ring on it. You know, these men ain't shit. Make sure he gets you the bag. Make sure you don't need no man, while they're at home swallowing up the sausage, doing the complete antithesis to what they're preaching in their music. Interesting how that works. And then the idiots they're like, yas, queen. I don't need no man. Please. Guy comes at them. Hey, honey, I think you're beautiful. Fuck you, dude. You catcalling me? How dare you? And then the men stop catcalling women. Why are no men paying attention to me? Like for real, what is actually wrong with people? It's like people don't have critical thinking skills, and with social media, people have become so freaking dumb. They just see stuff online and they instantly believe it. And the thing is, I'll see stuff, like you see these prank videos, half of them you know they're fake. Because it's like, okay, this person is hiding and this camera is on this person's face following him everywhere. Obviously, he sees the cameraman. Like, do people actually believe this is happening? And I've had my mom and dad share videos with me. Did you see this? What's happening? And I have to fact check them and be like, Mom, Dad, like, no, what? And I'm thinking to myself, how is it that they're this gullible? But they're not they're not on the internet all the time. Like, they have jobs, they have lives. So, I mean, my mom watches stuff all the time, but she's also busy in the church. My dad, he's an accountant. He's working. He's an extrovert. He's out there having fun, you know, with his wife, you know, and stuff. So they see stuff and they just take stuff at face value. And I have to be the one to tell them, look, that article that you're linking me, it's a part of a scam. Here, you can see that here. That's not actually something that's happening. This is something to look out for. Yes, people can use AI to pretend that they're me to try and get money from you. Yes, this happens. Yes, that doesn't happen. Here are the sources to prove that. Here's proof that this video was from 10 years ago. You know, like they're like, oh, it's a new strain of COVID. Like, no, that was several years ago. It's not a new article. And I realize, even just through my parents and people I talk to on Twitter, wow, people are gullible, like to a painful degree. Like, you can't think for yourself. Someone on the news tells you what to think, and you don't decide, I'm going to stay back and use my own eyes and observation and do my own research. I'm going to be aware that when I'm reading certain articles, if they're funded by certain companies, that it might be biased. Like, there's just certain things that you'd think that people would be aware of, but most people don't have the mental fortitude to do that. And it's unfortunate, but I think it's just part of humanity. Most humans follow, and there's only a select few that lead. I'm not saying that all the smart people are leaders. They're not. But we became what we are as a species because we started thinking outside the box. And somehow, because we've become so domesticated and sheltered, we no longer need to think because social media does it for us. We're kept docile and entertained, and our minds are numbed. There's no thinking required. Now we have AI and everything to do the thinking for us. And like, I've used some of that stuff too. Like, I'll have conversations with chatbots and be like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Because funny enough, you could have a more open-minded conversation with a freaking robot than you can with people nowadays because they get sorely offended at everything just for you asking a goddamn question. So it's very strange, but yeah, the social media thing is what I think is killing people. That's what is propagating this whole man-hating, women-hating. People are following people. You see little kids now watching it, and their parents give them iPads and devices, and they don't teach them. They just let them sit down with it and absorb everything that they see. And if that's at the forefront of what they see, the only male figure in their lives is an Andrew Tate that they watch every day on their freaking phone because mommy and daddy, or maybe daddy's not in the home, or mommy and daddy aren't paying attention, that's going to be the male figure that influences them. Same thing with women. That's going to be the female influencer that influences. Yeah, I'm going to start seeing all the hatred. If you choose to see things from a lens of hatred and you grow up with that mentality, that's all you're ever going to see. Like my mom, to everything was a devil. The world is horrible. The world is this, Satan is this, Satan is that. And I'm like, if you really believe in God, isn't it like, I don't know, a slap in his face to not choose to see the beauty more than you see the bad? I don't know, just me. Like when I was a Christian, I chose to see the beauty. I'm aware of all the bad stuff that happened, but I also choose to see the beauty in things. Like, like living in the middle of the forest, I can appreciate all the different birds and animals out there and the fresh air and, my dogs and the people I love. And it's just, I feel so warm in my heart because I think there's more beauty on earth than there is bad. And because when you see, I was going to say a backshot. That is not the word I wanted to use. What's the word? When you see an image of the globe, when you see an image of the globe, you don't see any people, you don't see any buildings. You just see Earth. And in that moment, the pulchritude of it is overwhelming. Nothing else matters. Nothing else exists. Just this ball of celestial beauty hanging in nothingness, still at the moment you're observing it. And that is true beauty. You're in a park. There's barely any people. Even if there are people there and everything's quiet, you put your headphones on. And in that moment, everything is quiet. And you can just enjoy the beauty of people sitting there and just being next to each other. You forget about all the hatred. And you realize that this is such a small, trivial part of humanity. Dude, we should be exploring the freaking cosmos. Do you know how many nights I go up? Like where I live now, when we moved, you can see the stars. Like, I don't remember the last time I could see the stars since I was in my country. And when I came to the States and I moved to New York, the stars were gone. And now I'm in a place where just wildlife everywhere. And you can actually see the twinkly twinklies. And all I want to do is go up there. And there's nights, people probably would think I'm stupid if they were to see me out there. And I'm looking up at the sky for like half an hour crying because I feel so homesick for a place I've never been. And I'm thinking to myself, we are humans. Look at what we can do. We can split the atom. And we should be out there exploring. We should have been past our solar system by now. But then when you look at what humans are doing, what are we doing? We're fighting with ourselves because someone misgendered you, or because a man hurt your feelings, or because the women that you liked didn't like you and now all women are shit. So this is what we're doing when we have the kind of brain capacity that we have now. This is what we're doing with it. If aliens were to come down right now, they would wonder, why are you still here? They visited us years ago and they're like, okay, in the next 10 years, they're gonna be a problem. And the aliens come back and they're like, never mind. That's weird. I think they're actually regressing. False alarm. I think we're good. They're probably going to kill themselves off before they even become a problem anyway. They're not even going to get past Mars. The people that are actually trying to move us forward technologically, people are crucifying them. It's just weird. It makes me feel so sad for humanity, for real.
And want to be alone forever. And then you got a bunch of women who are like, fuck men. Men are pigs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need a man. You know, so obviously you can see how that's a problem when it comes to population collapse. Because look, I mean, all these people are turning like what, 20? These people are in their late teens, early 20s, up to like mid to late 20s, dude. Dude, these people are gonna be single forever. Okay, unless they get a mindset change somehow, they're just single for eternity. They're dying alone. No kids, no wife, none of that shit. I mean, when both genders hate each other, how could that not make population collapse worse? You know? I mean, dude, the average age, I think I looked it up yesterday, the average age in Japan's like 50. I think US isn't that bad. I think it's like 37, you know? That's the average age.
Average age of what? I don't know, I missed what he was saying there. I might be not understanding. Is that the average age of... It can't be people living, because people live longer than that in the US, so I don't know what he means by that. But, yeah, what doesn't help is people absorbing content, and that is the only content they absorb. When I was watching Manosphere content, I was like, yeah, I understand where a lot of this is coming from, because I see it. I have 2 brothers, I have a father, I have uncles, I have male best friends, I have a husband. Like, I love men. I love men. Like, when I was growing up, I really liked men. I was like, that's not the way you think. I wasn't going around sleeping with everybody. But I admired males for their strength, how beautiful they are. You know, people look at the woman body, the female body, and they're like, damn, the female body is really beautiful. It really is beautiful. For the longest while, I didn't even recognize that in myself because I was like, ugh, breasts. Like, they were so annoying because I was like really sporty, and every time I'm running, they'd flop around, and I'm like, ugh, gross. Like, I just used to, I hated that. And now that they're big, it's like, can't wait to get a breast reduction because you can't move. Like, they're just there. They're just annoying. Like, look at us. Like, stop. Sorry. But I admired men. And what didn't help is, I don't know what happened when feminism became this weapon to use against men. But then, and I have to admit this, there was a skew of the sexes. When men started getting accused for things and women just started being believed without any evidence. There's so many cases of men that are innocent, that have been accused by women of doing something horrible to them. And there's no evidence. Their reputation is ruined.
To a story of treachery and deceit. From the outside, they looked like a happily married couple. But when Faisal had doubts and turned to a lawyer, his wife took their breakup to the next level.
You're about to witness one of the most audacious attempts by a wife to frame her husband for domestic violence.
She's dangerous, very dangerous.
Watch how this woman astonishingly punches herself in the face, not once, but twice, later telling police her husband bashed her.
It's flipped my life upside down. I'm not the guy who I used to be anymore.
Everyone just automatically believes the woman. But when it happens to her, no one cares. If it comes out later, like even on TikTok, like that girl that spread this rumor that this guy gave her AIDS on purpose, and then it came out that she was lying and she admitted she was lying, but his reputation was already done and people still hated him. The men that went to jail for 15 years or like a very long time, and then it came out later the woman was lying on them, but now they can never get that life back. You know, like, dudes who are decent, even if they do something in marriage, the woman just tears him apart in court, takes away half of everything he's earned just to be bitter. He moves on with another woman, and you decide to destroy his reputation because he's moved on. Or like that recent thing with like the YouTuber where this girl got ghosted by him, so she decides to go on a campaign to say he assaulted me, and everyone just believes her because she's a woman and she's crying. Of course she's telling the truth. It's impossible for women to lie. Women are the ones who use reputation soiling as their #1 weapon. In times gone by, even now, whenever men have confrontation, they're very physical with it. They will either send people to chop your head off or they will go chop your head off. Women are more sneaky because we are the weaker of the sexes. And when I say weaker of the sexes, I mean physically. Like going up against a dude as a biological woman, yeah, I'm not gonna, like, if me and this dude were to wrestle right now, like, I don't know how tall he is, but I'm 5'2". I'm pretty sure he's bigger. If I were to be like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up, bitch, and he were really trying to hurt me, he would blow on me and I would die. Like, I'm well aware of that. Like, that's why I cringe at these videos where women go out trying to fight men and then the men slap them back, not even that hard, and they're like, like, what did you think was going to happen? So I understand that. And women in times gone by understand that men are stronger and men also hold more power because of that. So what they would do, there's 2 things they would use. Poison and destroying reputation destruction. Those are the two things. Women usually go behind the scenes, and I know that's what they always use because I went to school and that is what they tried to use against me. When I was really popular, I guess some of the popular girls were getting upset. I got popular too, but not because I was like super fashionable. I got popular because I got along with everyone, and guys found me cute, whatever. I didn't recognize that then. That's what the guys told me, but you know, I just thought of myself as just me. And apparently, like, people were telling me, yeah, these girls, they don't like you, whatever. And I'm like, what did I do? Like, I'm just existing, playing soccer, just doing whatever, just hanging out with dudes. And apparently, they didn't like me getting attention. So what they did is they started spreading rumors about me. And it's, you know what? I gotta give it to the guys, bro, because the guys are freaking awesome. They'd be like, oh, yeah, you know, Allie, she fucked this guy. She fucked this guy. And I'm like, what? I wish, but I didn't do that. What are you talking about? And the guys would come out and be like, bitch is lying. I would love to, but I didn't. They understood what was going on. And if I hadn't made friends with all the people I made friends with, my reputation would have been destroyed. It would have been completely destroyed. But because the stupid ass girls didn't know, I knew everybody in the school. Everybody. I was friends with everybody. Everybody called them out, knew they were fucking lying. Thank goodness. But can you imagine if I didn't have that? People would just be like, wow, she's a slut. And you could see it too. Like, I didn't do anything. I didn't even have time to even go over anybody's house to do anything. And I'm sorry, I can't love too many people at the same time. Like, if I like someone, I just like that person. Like, that's the only person I want to be with. But yeah, that's what they do. And it's a very underhanded way of fighting, but that is usually a tactic that women employ, and you see this in social media. They do the same thing to each other, and they do the same thing to men. They ruin the men's reputation. A guy ghosts you, even if he cheats on you, he's a piece of shit, but you're gonna lie and say that he did something that he didn't do to ruin his life forever and get him fired from his job? Bro, what in the sociopathic is that? That is just weird. See, that's why I feel like men, when they start coming out with this stuff, there was a little skew there where it's kind of unfair for dudes because they were the ones getting shafted throughout of this, more so than the women. You know this because even in court, it doesn't happen all the time. Most of the time, if they're trying to fight for child custody, women will win because she's the mom. Even if the guy is like, there's evidence that she does drugs, she does this, she does that. It's so much harder for the dad to get custody than the mother, even though she's not fit to raise the kids. It just is what it is. And calling out that stuff isn't being sexist. It's acknowledging that there's a problem. And if it was all the way on the other side, like it was in the past, where men had more power, where they're like, yeah, this man is abusing his wife. Oh, well, we don't really know if that's true. And there's evidence. Look at his wife's face. Like, people saw him doing it. Yeah, but he's like the mayor. So it's bad on either side. It's like there's a balance. There was a balance. And now we're skewing all the way to the other side now, where it's like women can't lie. And we've seen how that's just now, as a result of that, and also women chasing the fathers out of the home, the system that rewards single mothers so that they don't have the fathers in the home because now they don't depend on the man to provide for them. Now they depend on the government to provide for them. All of those things are a culmination of these kids growing up fatherless and now hating fathers because of that as well, or hating male figures, and the males not knowing how to temper their emotions and hurting females. So it's kind of like they're creating their own monsters in a weird snake eating the tail kind of situation.
55, 60. I mean, 60 is the old retirement age and they're trying to push it up. So, I mean, shit. Let's say, dude, imagine like 100 years from now, the average age is 70. That shit would be fucked. It would be over. Yeah. And I think part of that is like the genders that just fucking hate each other. You know, I don't think anyone's like got a girl, and if they do have a relationship, it's just like, I don't know, a bunch of issues. You know, those podcasts where they like bring on like the super rich, like kind of douchebag single guys. I mean, they're right about a lot of stuff. And then the OnlyFans girls, I feel like that's not a great representation of each gender. You know what I'm saying? That's like kind of like it's kind of like, you know, like a very small percentage of each gender, and they're like representing the whole gender on the internet. You know, having them like fuck women.
Yeah, I agree. I always think of that too, because if people never went to school, or they're obviously bimbos that don't have a lot of gears turning in their head, why would you use that? That's very dishonest. That doesn't make you as a man look very good when you're like, haha, I won an argument against an OnlyFans. Like, okay, that's the bar that is required for you to feel intelligent because you won an argument against someone you know is not. Weird flex, but okay.
And the women are like OnlyFans girls and they like don't come off as intelligent. So yeah, anyone watching that's gonna just fucking, you know, hate the other gender. I don't think that can be very good. So
yeah, but that's also on the people watching to use your goddamn brain. Like, I understand if they're little children because they're stupid by default when it comes to that stuff, but if you're a grown person watching, you know that these are OnlyFans models. Why would you think that that represents the entirety of our gender as women? Like, same thing with feminists. Like, you look at two dudes who hurt you and you decide all men are awful. Really? Like, I've been hurt by men too. I've been molested by guys. And it's like, not ever once in my little girl brain did I think I hate all men. Maybe, you know what? That should have happened because it happened the first time it happened. I was 4 years old and it really hurt. It was horrible. But maybe my brain is just weird or something. I know for some people it didn't bother them, some people it breaks them. But for me, I never looked at men differently. I understood, I was able to compartmentalize and recognize it was that human being that did it. Not all men are like that. My father is amazing. He's my hero. The guys at my church, they were amazing. My uncles, well, except for the one that molested me too. But yeah, they're amazing. The men that I meet on the street that help me, the men that, you know, protect this police officers, the firemen, I understood that those are different people. The person or the people that did that to me are different. The woman that did that to me, not all women are like that. So it's very strange when people, I mean, I guess I understand where it's coming from, but maybe it also boils down to people needing to get help. Because a lot of these people that are bitter, men and women, they feel very broken inside. And, you know, like I had a really rough relationship with my mom. And it's part of the reason why I don't want kids either, because I don't know if there's something deep inside of me based on what happened when I was growing up and how she treated me because she was abused and she kind of did that to us in a different way. Is that going to come to light when I have a child as well? Like, I don't know that. I don't feel safe enough. I don't want to put my child through that. But I forgave my mother, well, except for one thing. But for the most part, I forgave my mom. We're back on speaking terms. Everything is fine. I still love her with all my heart. I do. But one of my little brothers, she really hurt him. And the other twin, he's fine. He's, you know, he recognized it happened. He's like, you know, I'm gonna move on with my life. The other twin, it's not that he hates women. He likes women, but he got so messed up with how my mom treated him that he was like, yeah, I don't want to be tied down to no one. I don't want no girl telling me what to do. He has a lot of brokenness inside of him. He's hurting so bad still. And all this time, my mom never apologized it. She just doubled down. So to him, that being the only female figure he's had in his life growing up, and also she wore the pants in the family, it put a bad taste in his mouth with women, especially even if a woman has an opinion and she's like, honey, I don't like the way that this he's like, don't fucking tell me. No, don't. It's like he doesn't want to hear anything. He doesn't want to hear jack. Don't tell me what to do. He doesn't do well with people talking down to him. And even if you mean well, you have to be careful in the way you do it because he gets triggered very easily from people telling him what to do. Even if it's not coming from a bad place. You have people out there that are broken and they never got help or never got the closure. And a lot of them end up looking at the entire world like this. And it's very sad.
And then a lot of people that do get married and stuff don't want to have kids because they think the world is fucked. Which I don't know. I think it's yeah. And then all the embrace loneliness dudes. I mean, shit, they're not, obviously if they're embracing loneliness, they're not having kids either. So I don't know.
Can you blame the dudes for not wanting to have kids though? When a lot of women use the kids to trap them. That's the other thing. That's the other conversation we need to have. I was talking with this about my friends, and women have the choice to not have a child if they don't want. That's what people get on me about. They're like, well, you don't know what you're talking about with the whole political alignment thing, which I don't like. But one of the things that I am a proponent for, I don't go out there preaching, you should do it. No, but I do believe, yes, you should have the choice to continue with your pregnancy up to a certain point. If you're 9 months or 8 months, that's too much. But up to a certain point in the early trimester, if you're like, I can't afford this, I don't want this, you should have the choice to terminate the pregnancy. The guy has no choice. If he doesn't want to be a father, no, you got to be a father regardless. Even though it was both of us, I poked a hole in the condom. Now you're going to be a dad. He has no choice.
Kind of I could be wrong, but I kind of see that as being a future problem. If men and women hate each other, yeah, we're vibing. Code Horse Meat on Iron Crew and Retaliation Project. There's a Retaliation Project drop tomorrow, so
Okay, I don't know what he's talking about. But to end it there, you can watch the whole of his video straight through if you know, without the commentary. But yeah, he has a good point. And I think what needs to be done, honestly, because most of us don't feel that way. Most women, I believe, don't hate men, and most men don't hate women. That's stupid. Biologically, we just don't feel that way. But the people who have all the hate in their hearts and are angry, they're the ones that are speaking the loudest because they're angry. And so those are the only voices being heard. So if more people like Horse Meat and all of us come out and represent, hey, like, no, we don't feel this way. This is what's good about men. This is what's good about women. I love appreciating both sexes. Things that women are really great at that men aren't, and things that men are really great at that women aren't in general. I love celebrating those things. I think it's beautiful. I look at the female body, I look at my own body, I'm like, goddamn. You know, I look at a man's body, I'm like, ooh, they fit so nicely together. I love watching that. That to me is art. I love it. It's beautiful. Both of them. I love how angry some men get when they're protective and how strong. And I love women when they're fierce and when they're soft. And it's just, I think that there's beauty in both, and you can admire something, still find issues with it and debate, but also be truthful and admire that thing. But if people are so hurt to the point where they only see hatred and only see the negative, then and they're propagating that message, then that's going to lead to the downfall of humanity, because now we're going to literally hurt ourselves. But anyway, go check out his video and let's have a discussion, I guess.